welcome. This is a Vessel of Light podcast. I'm Sam Renfro. I'm so happy you're here. And yeah, I really just wanted to, first of all, name the changing of the brand. Well, actually, it's still the same brand. It always has been Vessel of Light. And I thought, well, why not change the name of the podcast to really fit and align with my vision, my goal, and the brand that I've already started to build and create, and that you guys are really a part of now. And so as it takes shape and takes flight, I just want to acknowledge this piece of giving yourself permission to change. And this is going to be one of the themes of this episode, is giving yourself permission to do things differently, to be a new version of yourself, and to be your own personal coach, to be your own cheerleader, if you will. I think, I sat with this for a while within the name change, and I was like, well, somebody else already had the name. They had, they put out like 6 episodes back in, November of 2024 or something. And originally when I was picking names out, I was like, I want it to be something that people will recognize, that's broad enough to, capture the attention and to maybe one day it'll be this big thing that everybody knows. And that very well might be the case. But what I'm doing now is I'm really honing my mission and my messaging and the way that I communicate with the people that are attracted to this podcast. And so again, I want to thank you for being here, but it was just kind of one of those things where I was like making so many excuses in my head to do it. And it all just came down to the decision. And that's another theme that's really been surfacing lately for me here is it comes up a lot. It's like deciding what you want out of life. It can be a big task, or it can feel a little bit daunting. But I think personally in my life, I've gotten so caught up in trying to do the right thing all the time, trying to align with the right spiritual plan and the mission, and trying to surrender and all these things. But I just keep coming back to the fact that it's time to decide. It's time to decide who we are. It's time to decide who we are not. And it's a really potent time to be making decisive actions, even if it's not the right one forever. And that's a really, really big thing, is we can get so caught up in the mind about, like, well, if I make this decision now, what happens later on down the road? What if I want to change my mind? What if it doesn't go the way that I thought? Or what if it's, we don't need to get caught up in all that, because we are being guided. We are being led. There is a force greater than us that is steering the ship. And at the same time, we're the ones in this 3D world that get to take the action. We have to align our energy so much, especially right now, where we can have all of this divine energy around us be able to work with us in coherence. It's like our helpers, our guides. They're going to organize everything, and it might not be right this second, but they're helping us in all the unseen realms to focus our path into the direction that we choose. And if it's not the quote unquote right path, then they're going to help us course correct. They're going to maybe put up a few roadblocks, a few people in the path, a few things that are like, okay, this is clearly not it. But if we decide and say, this is what I am standing for, this is who I am, and this is the direction that I'm going, we bring in that element of certainty that I've been learning so much about and I talk about a lot, is really saying with full faith, with full force, I know exactly where I'm going, and I know that it's going to be for the highest good. I know it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, I know that it was the right thing in the first place, because it showed me where I was a little bit out of alignment. But it's really, and this comes back to what I'm really understanding, is this element of personal power. And the personal power, if you don't have it, or if you have a difficult relationship with your own power, or even with the power the dynamics that you've seen out in the world. Personally, when I think of money and power and all these things, you kind of cringe a little bit, right? You have all these examples and these ideas of people and organizations that have abused their power, that have kind of used it for control, right? And so when you think about having your own power, it's much easier to just sit back and watch and not actually do anything. Not to say that we all need to be activists, but to do anything in our own life that says, I'm here showing up as who I am, and I'm powerful. And I'm actually going to use this power as a force of good. I'm going to show up fully and come here and be the person that I was meant to be and guide others in that, or create the thing that is going to ripple out, or to provide the service, or to use my skills to the full potential, right? It's what we're here to do. This is our personal power, where we get to discern and decide, this is what I want to do. And I don't know why, but for me, it's been such a long journey to figure out what that is, and to land on it and say, okay, no, this is it. This is the direction. And that might change 25 different times within the next year or 2 years. Hopefully not. But I think this is it's interesting for me, because as I'm unlocking and building this personal power and uncovering all these beliefs around what that actually means and how I hold it in my body, then it also coincides with that decision, right? That deciding, that, again, using all of your energy, right? The physical and spiritual and mental energy that we have, even emotional energy, we're going to use that as fuel towards the thing that we are creating, that we're building, that we're working towards. And when you can do that, you start showing up in the world in a very different way. And then when you start showing up in the world in a very different way, your body starts opening up, your chest starts, lifting, this core, this power center starts becoming a little bit more strengthened, a little bit more open, a little bit more vulnerable, right? And that, that can come with both those lighter and those darker sides, as I talk about. But saying, you know what, I have complete certainty, this is for me, and it's going to be for the good of everyone. Holding that intention is what really creates that vessel, and it allows the light to come in. So this is, again, going back to, what is vessel of light, right? I've been learning a lot of Kabbalistic principles, and I can go into that and really share what vessel of light means for me right now. But originally it was a concept that came to me in an oracle deck. It was like a card that I had pulled, and I was deciding on the name for my Reiki business at the time, my Reiki practice, and something about it just shook me when I read, becoming the vessel of light that you are. I don't even really remember what the card was about, but it just really, really hit me to the core. I was like, wow, I am a vessel of light. And so are you. And it just was like, yeah, it was powerful. But then as I worked with that name and built my website and just started to uncover all of these things over time, then I discovered Kabbalah, and I realized that everything is about the light and the vessel. Everything has the light and the vessel. So this podcast is the vessel, and the light comes in and fills it. And then the vessel, as it contains that light, then it can do amazing things, right? And so this is the same way with you. You are also a vessel. This is your physical vessel. Of course, you probably know this body that we have. And the light is the creator. It's God. It's nature. It's the divine. And it's the organizing force that is going to bring all the things in your external world or internal world to be. And it is a really like this force for giving. And I say for giving, and it's also forgiving, right? It's both and when I started to work with these concepts and understanding that we are the vessel and we have to build the vessel, because you don't always have the proper vessel for the thing that you want to bring into this 3D reality, right? You need to be able to build your vessel over time. And you do that through personal growth, self-work, self-development. You do this through lots of things, through the people and the situations that are coming to you all the time, through discipline and discernment, through, figuring out where your vessel is leaking, because all that light is constantly coming in, but if it can only hold so much, it's not really going to bring you any benefit or change or joy, right? One of my favorite teachers, David Guillaume, he always talks about if you're a 60-watt bulb, you can't hold 6,000 watts of light or whatever he says. It's like you have to be able to have a bigger vessel, a bigger bulb. And so this is the journey, is understanding how you can build the vessel that you want, that you require for the life that you're meant to have. And as we go on more and more, I'll start to share what I've learned, what I'm learning in my life, and how this relates. But vessel of light, it just feels right. And it's also in the realm of everything else that I do and that I'm building, it's going to create a strong, coherent brand, where it's like my YouTube, my Instagram, my podcast, all the things are named Vessel of Light, and then I can have my other container within all that. But it'll just create a little bit more, it'll be easier to find me. And so I think you have to think on the macro and the micro, right? You have to think logistically and intuitively, and that is the balance, right? That's what I'm learning. That's what I like to teach. Coming back to the body, but still holding the energy. Again, I'm going to teach you how to work with both the vessel and the light. So it's quite a journey. It really is. But going back to this idea of personal power and permission. So I was on almost like a panel earlier today, when there was 6 of us that all got together in not necessarily about Human Garage, but in the capacity where everyone was at least familiar or a part of it in some way, which is the group that developed the fascial maneuvers that I teach. And we all got to talk about the rise of yin in leadership. And it was like we just kind of decided that this was going to be the topic, but we all just organically flowed and shared what was coming to us, what was alive in our lives. And one of the women on there was speaking about how it was like in her life she had waited for so many opportunities for someone to come and essentially not hold her hand, but encourage her until, like, the one in your corner of the ring, the one that's gonna guide you and kind of be there for you. And she said time and time again, it just never came. And that person never came, and she just felt like she was always just let down by that, until she realized, no, I get to be the one in my own corner. I get to be the one that is leading and guiding and encouraging, and like my own cheerleader. And she said it in a really elegant way, but what I really took away from it was, if we take the image or the idea of the ring, right, the boxing match or the wrestling match or whatever, and you have your coach or your mentor or whatever it is, the person that is saying, okay, when you get beat up, like, you come back to that corner of the ring after the round is over, and they're going to motivate you, right? They're going to give you some words of wisdom, and they're going to keep you going. So then you're kind of periodically coming back to that person after you get beat up, and then you come back and you no, I had the fuel and the energy to keep going because of whatever this person said, right? So in your life, in my life, I get to be the person that either I'm the one that is not only getting beat up, but also the one that is doing the beating up, right? The opponent. And Kabbalah talks about this really beautiful. There's always the opponent that's in your mind, in the back of your head, that's always kind of giving you that voice of discouragement, of trying to talk you out of your dreams, and trying to like put up all these obstacles to get you to stay comfortable. And so it's like, I realized, well, I get to be the person that is cheering and is like inspiring and motivating myself. I get to be that voice that is fueling me, keeping me going. Or I can be the one that is also fighting against me. And I get to decide which that is, right? So I'm deciding, no, I'm going to help myself. I'm going to, a lot of people talk about reparenting themselves. What it is, it's flipping the perception and the perspective, and saying, do I want to battle against myself and critique myself and say, you're doing this wrong, you should have done it better, no one's going to value it or like you or whatever, and critique every little thing you say and do? Or do I want to be the one that is like, you did a great job and here's where we can do it better, here's where we can grow? So starting to listen to that voice and say, no, I want to change that a little bit. And we get to slowly over time reshape what that voice is saying, or, not necessarily listen to it. But either way, it's our internal dialogue. And I think it's a lot more harmonious to work with it instead of against it. So that was a little piece of wisdom that got dropped into my lap today. When we talk about that personal power, we're really inviting that in our bodies. And if we can encourage ourselves to keep going, to do the thing, to focus all of our energy on that which we love or that which we want to create, then that's the world we're going to live in. And we're going to be able to go so much farther, so much faster, so much more holistically and expansive and impactfully to the world around us when we have that voice of encouragement. And you get to do that for yourself if you want to. So giving yourself the permission to be that voice, to be the person that you so desperately know yourself to be. And to change when things aren't working. And when you do that, then that personal power, that choice, that deciding becomes so much stronger. You have the certainty that you are going where you need to go, in the direction that you need to go, in the timing that you need to get there. And again, coming back to all these forces around us are now going to organize life in a way that is stronger and so much bigger than we could have imagined. And we get to rely on these angels, these guides, the creator. We get to rely on these unseen worlds to help us instead of work against us and feel like we're all alone all the time. So this is what I wanted to share. And these are the kinds of things that I've already been talking about energy in my life, but inviting some of this wisdom back into the body. So what I've been doing a lot lately is I'll notice in my mind when I have these thoughts, these criticisms, these old patterns that I've recognized that are not serving me anymore, I'm starting to understand, okay, when these thoughts are present, what is my posture like? Am I a little bit more contracted, a little more hunched over? What am I feeling? Do I have tension in my body? And I'll do a body scan to understand what's present in the body. And then I'll start to feel, okay, how am I looking? How am I showing up? And where is it living? And if that area, even subtly, is contracted, where can I invite more of that certainty, more of that lift, more of that energy to help release it? And this is just the beginning of the practice that I teach. I just developed and put out a new free course on the Fully Human Collective, which is an online community that I've been developing. And we go in and we start to do just that. We work with the energy. We understand what's happening in the body through body scanning. We develop the area that is not so great in your life, and we relate that to where it is in your body. So we're starting to understand this physical vessel is not separate from everything else that is playing out in our life. Everything that we see right now, that's in our field, all the people that we love or that kind of drive us crazy or that we wish that weren't here, all those red lights and all of those traffic jams and all the situations maybe in your job that you wish were different. Like all of that is completely related to this body and where you hold it. So I want to teach you how to do that. If you're curious, go check it out, and I'll link it in the show notes. But it's the thing that I have been pouring all of my energy into. It's the thing that I am just absolutely so stoked on, and I've decided this is the container in which I want to place all of my teachings. And I want people just like you to come help create what it's going to be like. I want the community itself, the collective, to take on its own shape, its own form, its own personality, if you will. And when we do that, we come together and we help everybody in the container grow. And it just becomes this amazing place of resources and encouragement. So if that's something that you're interested in, go check it out. And I think that's all I have for you. So I'm wishing you a beautiful week. April is looking to be a bit of an intense month and the astrological things that are happening, but it's going to be a powerful one. And again, you get to decide how it's going to look. It might not be how you think it's going to look, but make sure that you are keeping your sense of personal power, your sense of authenticity, and make sure that you are keeping your own sovereignty. No matter what happens in the world, you have your own power. You get to decide, you get to say what you want and what you are going to accept. And that comes with what you are not going to accept as well. So kudos to you for being here. Thank you. I love you. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you again very soon.